Yo, JD here, Limitless, and as you can see, we're back on F1 2020 once again. It's been a little while since I've actually been on this because I've had so much league racing that I've been practicing for recently, a lot of internet issues and everything. But the preview build that I'm on here, of course, I have to remind everyone, is not the full build, so please don't actually take anything for a guarantee from this video or anything at all when the game comes out. Hopefully it won't be different because of some of the things I'm going to discuss here today, which I'm extremely excited about, but it could be very different, and that's something we have to keep in mind. And now I've been given access to all the tracks in F1 2020, and today we're actually going to drive the Mercedes, the first time that it has been showcased, and I'm so hyped for this, and I think you guys will really enjoy this video as well. It's something I've really wanted to showcase for a little while now. So we are going to go on Grand Prix mode, where we're going to showcase the ERS as well, the Mercedes. And what track are we going to do? We're going to do a track that I feel is the only track we should really be doing, because it is mentioned so often that if it has changed or not for F1 2020, and that is going to be, as we go on it now, have you guessed it yet? It is Suzuka. Main reason is that bump still there. That bump is just absolutely horrendous. They've needed to change that for so long, and we're going to put it on 101 difficulty, because in F1 2019 110 was near impossible, and it's always proven to be one of the hardest tracks. So we're just going to put 101, so we're still racing against the ultimate AI with no assists, 25% race, a one-shot quality, nice and clear, and we're just going to show the entire race and just talk about how this game feels, because I think you could tell I'm really hyped for this. I think you guys will enjoy it as well. So now we're going into the one-shot qualifying, running a default setup as I typically do, so not diving into the steps or anything just yet. And you can see, if you like this camera angle, this is in TV pod, but the thing I want you to pay attention to is look at the MFD first off, down below. Although we've seen this help before, if you look down here, you can actually finally change the brake bias by one individually instead by two. You can actually do it one at a time, and you also can see by the ERS in qualifying, it only goes from hot lap to none, so none of this manual changing of the ERS anymore, you know, unless sometimes you might have to in case the ERS runs out. But that is a really refreshing thing. Just those small details make a big difference. And if you're wondering what my camera settings are for this video, here it is, the TV offset, which I've really enjoyed recently. So we decided to retire from that session. We're going to go from the back of the grid, and again, just to see how the game feels, just showcasing a full 25% race in this Mercedes. And yeah, I was really excited for this one. And the game, from playing it, just the animations, the music, just how it just feels so much more crisp and just smooth, and just a transition of things. You know, it's not a whole big difference from 2019, but just the little things, just again, just going through the menus, just the simplicity and everything like that. It's really refreshing to me. So now we're going to start last, and you can see the lights come on very quickly, updated it to the new light sound, and we get a very good start. So starting on the soft tyres, and you can see straight away we have an overtake button, which I've enabled straight away going into this tail one, and then going back down into the lane, turning it off and go for his first corner. We made up a couple of positions as the AI cut across me. So again, you have to be very committed against this AI. If you're not fully alongside, you will definitely be punished. And for this first lap, typically as usual, we try and try and do it as fairly as I possibly can, because I know you could probably overtake about 10 of the AI into turn one if you really wanted to, but we're going to try and make it as realistic as I can. And straight away, track limit warning. And I noticed around this track, compared to F1 2019, and around most tracks in general, as we go down the inside, but we decided to not fully abuse it, as I mentioned before. It's very easy to just abuse this AI, but we're not on the max difficulty, although we are on 101, so it should still be pretty competitive for a player here. But the one thing I noticed, as I was saying, is definitely the track limits are a lot stricter, a lot more consistent and strict in this game, which you will see throughout this video. But now we deploy the overtake button again, and it gives you such a big boost going down the straight. But the one thing you can see is how quickly it depletes, and you have to be very, very careful the way you use it. But we go down the inside of the racing point of Lance Stroll, and we get the move done. And that is 7 positions as the leader. Sebastian Vettel has already gone across the line, and good start so far. In terms of how the handling feels, I have to say, and I know a lot of people will feel like I'm giving them hope and just hyping up, it feels absolutely incredible to me. I just feel so connected to the car. It just feels so smooth. I feel like I'm at one with the car, and that's something I haven't been able to say since 2013. But again, trying to use his overtake button, going around the outside the AI, not working this occasion. He slows down on the apex. That is Giovinazzi trying to get a good exit off this corner, using the overtake again. You can just see the benefit that you have of it. It really does give you a big boost. Second gear, no first gear for the extra rotation on that occasion, but we'll talk a little bit more about that. But yeah, with the handling, I don't know, I kind of felt like in previous games that I always described it as driving a hovercraft, to be honest. I felt like you had to react to the visual of the game rather than the actual force feedback you're getting through either your hands or using the wheel or just on the controller. I always felt it was very, very difficult to have a precise reflection back onto you from the game. And you can see Raikkonen's actually made a little small mistake there, which is another thing I've noticed with this AI, that they actually make little mistakes now, which is something I don't think they've ever really have done before. But yeah, with the handling again, in the high speed, it feels so nice, and that's why I really wanted to do this track as well, like going through here. It just feels, the faster you go, just the more grip and just the more connected you feel. And then in low speed, it feels a little understeery, but it just feels so satisfying. And again, as you go off track, which is another thing, something coming up every single lap, it definitely punishes you more. If you dip a wheel onto the grass, you will lose some grip for the next 2 corners, whereas on 2019 you could dip a wheel onto the grass and half a second later you just have maximum grip again. On this game, for me anyway, it definitely does not seem to be the case. But yeah, I gotta say, it's hard to show you from watching a video, because you're not actually feeling what I'm feeling. I can just confirm that you just feel so much more connected to the car, just so much more weight throughout the steering wheel, and I'm actually using the same force feedback as I use on F1 2019 as well. I just feel really confident with my inputs, that it's actually, the game is actually projecting that back to me through the force feedback and just a device. So again, I think on previous games, and a lot of people agree as well, that it's hard to describe, but it just felt like we just had no feeling to the tyres of the cars. We go round the outside of Lando Norris, so that was a very nice move, using that overtake and the DRS as well. But yeah, going through corners such as this, you can just feel the weight of the car. You can feel it when it's going to slide as well, whereas in 2019 and the games before, I felt like it was almost too late to catch the slide. You had to just react to it in the game at the time, whereas now, before anything even happens, you can just feel when the car, it's just going to let go of itself. And it's quite a small difference, but it just makes such a more immersive experience. And a lot of people are saying, is this a sim or is this an arcade? I wouldn't say it's a sim, definitely not a sim. It's definitely a simcade still, but it's much more realistic, I would say, much more of how I would imagine the cars actually do feel in real life. And no, it's really good. Another thing as well, we've mentioned this before, with the downshift, you can see like going through at the end of sector 1 we have the double right, the really fast right-hander. the game really forces you to downshift quite slowly, which is, you know, a little bit of a change to someone like me. You can see I'm downshifting pretty slowly compared to what I would normally be. And going across this, well, I couldn't mention it then because we'll go into the pits, but that bump has been removed from this game. I don't know if I said that yet, but you could just see it as well. I wouldn't even have to say it. It has been removed, finally, because that was not in real life. No, it needed to be removed for a good few years, and this has made this track so much more enjoyable to drive. But now we're going to go for an undercut, and let's see how much of an undercut we can really have. But yeah, I have to say, just from driving this, it just feels, I'd say, the best handling there's been since 2013. And if anyone from Codemasters is watching this, which I hope you are, all I can say is please do not change it for when the game comes out, because quite often when I've played on a beta or when I've had access to builds before, it has normally changed quite a bit when the game has released, and I really hope that is not the case on this occasion. One thing you can notice as well with the delayed downshifts, I'm going into high gears quite often. You can see third gear coming out of here. I don't think I've even used first gear at all yet, and I know a lot of people will be asking me, is first gear for extra rotation still going to be a thing? I think it will still be a thing. I think in really slow speed corners, like the end of the Hanoi Strait in Vietnam, for example, I think it will be beneficial to use first gear, but most of the time it won't. It won't be as OP as it was on 2019, 2018, where you could literally use it as pretty much a handbrake to get round some corners. On this game, it feels like if you do that in the wrong corner, you will just understeer. You won't actually get any extra rotation or anything at all. Whereas in some corners, I think, again, like the Hanoi at the end of the straightaway, coming to a dead stop, obviously the Monaco hairpin and stuff like that, you're going to have to use it going through some corners. So still usable, but not as beneficial is the way that I would describe it. Another thing as well is when you hit curbs such as this, on games at 2019, I think Spa was a pretty bad track for it. If you just kiss the curb, it would then just send you out into the oblivion. Whereas in this game, it doesn't do that. It's a much more smooth game, and I think I said that on Hanoi when I did that track, when I was showcasing that. The game is just so much more of a smooth experience. When you're braking, going on the throttle, going over curbs, just the steering, the input, the feedback you get from the track, you don't feel like you're on a hovercraft. You actually feel like you're connected to the track, which is exactly what you want when you're playing an F1 game, or any racing game for that matter. It's hard to put into words, but I really do feel a lot of people are going to enjoy this. And one thing you can notice as well is that the ERS with the overtake really diminishes it very quickly. And if you run out of ERS, even if you have some overtake bar left, they work in coincide with each other. And that's an example of a strict corner cutting system. On 2019, that would no way be a corner cut. They've really clamped down, and not just for this circuit. I think for most circuits, although not perfect, I know there's still room to be improved. I think there always will still be for some room to be improved, but it just feels so much more consistent to me. And you could absolutely yeet that chicane on previous games, whereas that is no longer the case. And it just feels so much more satisfying. That is the word I would describe this handling model. It just feels so much more satisfying, so much more immersive, so much more realistic, and I think it's going to be a joy for people to do this. You can see again, you can't go as quick down on the downshifts. Go use that overtake button. Was thinking about going down the inside there, but I decided to think a little bit better of it. Going down the inside, making a little bit of contact. First gear on that occasion, but again, I don't think it's really beneficial. I think it's only on probably a handful of corners throughout this game that it would really be somewhat of a benefit. I think most of the time you're going to be seeing people use like second gear, third gear and stuff like that. Quite often in general, the gears are much higher in this game than they were in the previous one. So they're using the overtake again. And the one thing I also really like about this game is that the ERS model with the overtake, I was fearing when I first saw it and when I first used it myself, but I couldn't show it. I was scared that, you know, especially competitive players who I consider myself to be a competitive player, would abuse it, where you could use it 3 or 4 times a lap, or every time you're on a straight you could use it. I really don't think that is going to be the case either, because as you can see with the overtake, it's very, very hard to restore the ERS because they work coincide with each other, and it just diminishes so quickly. But it is very, very powerful. It's very, very powerful when you do use it. I don't know how much horsepower you actually gain, but it's a lot. You gain a lot of horsepower, and I think you have to use it very, very tactically when playing F1 2020. You can't use it every lap. If you use it every lap, you just gotta have no ERS. And the thing is as well, the great thing about this is that there's no more manual ERS adjustments. So when you see in my videos on my league races or in esports, you see all the drivers just making so many changes before going into every corner. That's no longer going to be the case now. All you have to do is press one button, because you can't change the ERS manually yourself. You can't just go down on your D-pad and change it from left to right. There's only one option that you can do, and that is when you put in an overtake, it puts it in that overtake mode. When you take it out of it, you can see it goes back into mode 1 medium, and that's it. There's nothing else different about it. And the thing about it as well is that you are always going to be using some ERS. You can see when next time I don't put on the overtake button, as we jump a handful of cars going to turn 1, so we made the undercut work very, very nicely. You'll be able to see under braking and coasting, you're going to save ERS. But you can see here, not even putting in an overtake, since it is always in that mode 1, you can't turn it off completely, so you're always going to be using some ERS, which is the reason why it is so hard to save. And I think this is a fantastic thing, because too many people abuse the ERS. I've never really been a fan of it myself. It's, you know, people could just sit behind people and just save 100% ERS whilst the other person in front is using 20, whereas now, no, it's always going to be using it. You can't just turn it off, and that's great for me. That is really great. So I really do feel that this is something that cannot be abused. And if you have better pace than people and you're in clear air, now someone could use overtakes to try and get back with you, but if you can still drive fast and keep up a good speed without using overtake hardly at all, I think this is really going to reward the genuinely faster players on this game. And I know this is probably something you're hearing every single year when a new game comes out, and I've heard it a lot from people, but I can vouch for myself. Well, I'll try and vouch for myself. I always like to keep it real how it is, and I really do feel that this is definitely going to benefit just the faster players, the more consistent players, the people who have more raw speed than someone else. They effectively don't have to use overtake as much, and it's so powerful. So if someone's catching you and you've harvested loads of it, you can just pull away. You can gain almost a second a lap if you used overtake for the whole lap. It's incredibly powerful, really, really is powerful. And yeah, I think it's a great addition. None of this manual changing all the time. All you have to do is just press a button like you do with the DRS. But let me know down below, watching this gameplay, what do you think of it? I think just the small details that they have changed, I feel they've really listened to a lot of people's comments, which I think they've been guilty of in the past, where they haven't always addressed the feedback that people have given them. I really do feel that they've made an effort to do that, and being completely honest, I wasn't expecting too much of this game really at all, because I thought they would really be focusing on F1 2021. I thought that would be their main focus, but the small things that they've changed here is really refreshing to me, and I just cannot wait to play it. I really, really cannot wait to play it, because it just feels so nice to play. I just feel in complete control of what I'm actually doing. And no, before this, I haven't done Suzuka, so this is the first time I've jumped on Suzuka on F1 2020, so I've done no practice or anything coming into this, and straight away, the game does feel similar to 19 in a way, but just the small things in every area I feel have just been upgraded pretty much. And yeah, I'm very excited. Of course, we've got to still wait for the online, because stability, although I don't think it's been terrible in F1 2019, that's still a little bit of a question mark. And hopefully we will have a relatively stable online without any game-breaking glitches. I know there's always going to be glitches in games, especially when they're released. But yeah, as long as we don't have anything game-breaking, then no, it would be good. But in terms of enjoyment, driving, satisfaction, rewarding players who are genuinely faster, I feel it's going to be a really great experience. It really is. But coming off this corner, you'll be able to see here, and you can see Verstappen. That's exactly what I was talking about before. When the AI make mistakes, I noticed they actually lose the rear end sometimes, which is something I really haven't seen before in an AI. But again, just to remind everyone that this is the preview build, so this isn't the final product. But no, for a preview build, I'm really impressed. And the AI level here, like it is in F1 2019, they're pretty competitive. This is the ultimate AI on 101, and we're going to make a move on Verstappen here. So what we're going to do, go down the inside. He tries to squeeze me. We get the move done, and that is very nice. And just about holding it through here. The amount of grip you can carry through the high speed, no, you really need to go fast. If you don't go fast, you just go understeer. And that's exactly what it is in real life. The faster you go, the more downforce you get. And yeah, it's just really good. Really good. The only drawback I would have to say maybe about the handling is that maybe the braking is a little bit too easy. Don't feel I really lock up whatsoever on this game, but the traction, like coming off this corner in particular, the delayed downshifts make it difficult. Although I do lock up on that occasion, you can lose the car a little bit if you're a bit impatient. But I'd say the locking up is... No, the braking is not really that difficult, but I know a lot of F1 drivers have said without ABS on 2019, it was a lot more of a difficult experience. You had so many lockups all the time. So maybe this is a bit realistic, because I felt I was driving pretty well in this footage here. But so far, we've made it up into 4th place from the back of the grid without really trying to abuse the AI that much. And coming through here, sticking within track limits, definitely can't do it here. And no bump, a very smooth surface coming onto here. And we do the fastest lap so far, moving on to the last lap here. But we hardly got any ERS or overtake deployment left here. And again, I think my favourite thing about this is just being able to drive again. Not having to change a million things. The only thing you have to change is really the fuel. And now and again, not too much. It just feels good to just be focusing on your driving again, and I think that's what a lot of people wanted. It's definitely something that I wanted, and yeah, this is the most fun I have had driving on a game, on an F1 game, probably since F1 2013, and that is not a joke whatsoever here, as Albon has gone out the race. I'm trying to catch my teammate with those delayed downshift. That corner is actually quite challenging. You can feel you can brake a lot later than it is here. But let me know what you thought of this gameplay. Does it look better than F1 2019? What things do you like? What things don't you like? I will be releasing another video, probably not today. I think on Sunday I will be releasing another one. Let me know what track you would actually like me to do, because I haven't actually recorded it yet. So I think I would have some time to record it for the Sunday. So just again, let me know what you want me to do. I think we're going to defend it for Max Verstappen, as we almost lost all of our ERS deployment. As you mentioned before, you can have the overtake deployment, but it works with the ERS, and if you don't have an ERS, you can't use it. Come across the line, and that is our first race completed. As you can see by the achievement down below, become P4 from the back of the grid. And again, these little driver animations and just some of the things I've seen through the menus and just the transitions, which you haven't all seen yet, it doesn't feel like a complete copy and paste game, which I feel we have been receiving for the last few years. I feel they've actually gone an extra mile on quite a few things, just small things, just small fundamental details, which I've mentioned quite a few times. It's a really refreshing experience. So again, let me know what you think. Hope you enjoyed that gameplay, and I will catch you very soon. Peace.